Elon Musk just bought Twitter, and obviously at this point in time, it's been a long time coming. We've had months on end of just utter uncertainty about whether or not this would actually go through. He started off buying shares of the company on the open market, and then Twitter found out about this and tried to stop him because they didn't want him getting any kind of control over the company. And then he ended up making a formal offer to Twitter that the company then refused, and then they went back and accepted it. And then Elon tried to get out of that formal deal, and the whole thing ended up going to court. But finally, in the end, Elon just bought Twitter on a very normal afternoon on the 27th of October. Now, those who are sick about hearing about this whole ordeal are probably going to be a little bit sick again, because really this story hasn't ended yet. We're now going to be seeing the long process of Elon changing Twitter and forming it into what he wants it to be, and whether or not this $44 billion monstrous payment for a company that's a little bit of a dumpster fire is going to end up being worth it. Now, of course, it's only been a few days since this deal actually went through, but already loads of stuff has happened. And today we will cover all that has happened, explain exactly what is going on with it, with Twitter and Elon in general. But also we're just going to look at the general investment thesis behind Twitter for Elon, what he might do with it, and why so many people think that this was a pretty awful deal that's going to cost Elon billions of dollars. Now, right off the bat, Elon came out and did exactly what he said he was going to do when he finally bought Twitter, and he started firing people who are either not doing their job well or actually quite often not doing their job at all. Now, his stated aim is apparently to cull about 75% of the entire workforce, which so far he has not done, but he has started culling some of the executives who he knows he doesn't want working at the company because of the work they've done over recent years. Now, the first person who's gone is obviously Parag, who was the CEO, the guy behind the scenes pulling all the strings of Twitter, and he really just presided over a culture of mediocrity, with Twitter doing pretty much nothing of note over recent years. He was, by all accounts, a crap CEO who failed to grow the company in any way, shape or form, and he seemed content with Twitter not really making anyone ever any money, and instead just allowing it to be a platform to push political agendas, so it's no surprise at all that Parag has been done away with. Another no surprise firing is this woman that you see talking about here behind on this tweet called Vijaya, who just so happened to be the head of censorship czar type of person of Twitter. And she was the single person who made the final decision to ban Donald Trump from the platform last year. And Elon has, of course, been an outspoken supporter of free speech, especially when it comes to Twitter and Twitter accounts. And so this firing here is, again, not at all surprising. And it's also just making a few people speculate for good reason that Trump is likely going to be reinstated to Twitter or allowed to come back onto the platform. The next thing we saw Elon do was he instructed Twitter's engineers to start working on a system whereby verified users, or blue check marks like this guy behind me has on this tweet, will have to pay $20 a month to maintain their verified status, and he wants this done by the 7th of November, so he really wants it to move very quickly. Right now, the system is used to prove that a user is who they say they are, at least on the surface. That's why it's called verification. But in reality, there are plenty of celebrities and well-known people who need that blue check mark because of people impersonating them, but they aren't given it for political reasons. And the blue check mark has really just become a way to promote the views of certain people. And it's just evolved into a sort of status symbol of people being able to say, I'm more important than you because I have a blue check mark and you don't. And so Elon's idea is that plenty of people will be willing to pay for this privilege. Now, to clarify, a lot of people are complaining about this change that you just have to pay $20 a month to get this blue check mark, but it isn't clear how it's actually going to work yet. People are saying that anyone will be able to get verified. All they have to do is pay the money, but that isn't clear if that's how it's going to run or work. It may be that you still have to go through the verification process, but you then on top of that have to pay $20 a month. Now, Elon has also started to enforce Twitter's fact-checking system against the current US President Biden, which has never been done before. Of course, they did do fact checks against Trump, but never against Biden, even when things that he said have been verifiably false. Now, the actual tweet that was fact-checked isn't too important. It was just Biden boasting about some taxing some companies behind the scenes who in reality he actually isn't going to tax. You can read it behind me here and pause the video if you want. But what this indicates is what's actually important. It means Elon is not going to be shy using this fact-check feature, and he's probably going to target the current sitting US government an awful lot more. Now, we also saw Elon post this tweet here, which shows internal correspondence from Yoel Roth, who is the head of site integrity, or basically just the manager of Twitter's security. And Elon's tweet appears to show that Yoel admitted to someone else in Twitter that Twitter has been lying about the metrics that it uses, that the company was valued on, which is exactly what Elon was accusing Twitter of doing during that court case. And the fact that he's now tweeted this out means that he might go on to look to sue the former executives for some kind of fraud, as he now has access to all the information and everything that went on within Twitter during the court case. He can see what was actually going on, and it doesn't look good for Twitter. It's because of this that I predict there's probably quite a good chance we see more courtroom drama regarding this whole saga again soon. Finally then, and something that I really didn't want to talk about, but I know if I don't mention it at all, people are going to ask me why, and it's regarding Elon's tweet about Nancy Pelosi's husband. Now, in short, what happened is that Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit over the head with a hammer in his home the other night by a man, and that's the only thing that everyone can really agree on. The line from the Democrat Party and the legacy media is that this man was a Trump-supporting terrorist and this was a terrorist attack or an assassination, but many people on the right seem to think something different, because basically we have audio footage and we have heard the 911 dispatcher speak to an attending officer, and we know for a fact that Mr. Pelosi, the man who was attacked, knew the attacker by name. He was called David, and he also called him a friend when he was calling 911, and he'd locked himself in a bathroom. Obviously, that's caused a lot of speculation, and Elon drew attention to that speculation with this tweet here, referencing an article which basically said that this was some weird male prostitute thing going on in that house, which is not at all confirmed. Elon then went on to delete that tweet and try and get away from that accusation he made, but it's really not clear, and a lot of people aren't happy about this. Now, I really don't care about what actually happened here, but of course, this is being labeled as misinformation by the left, and they're using this as a claim that Elon is going to turn Twitter into a fake news paradise where conspiracy theories and falsehoods can be pushed as truth. And because Elon is the CEO of the company now, well, there's nothing anyone else will be able to do about it. But I don't really think that's a fair assessment, because all he was doing was drawing attention to the fact that the legacy media and people like Hillary Clinton are ignoring these vital pieces of evidence. Now, for the reactions of what has happened so far, well, they're pretty much exactly as you would expect. They are, broadly speaking, two sides to this, those on the left and those on the right, to put things simply. Now, the right are quite happy with what's happened. They see Biden being fact-checked when he lies, and they like that. They see staff who censored Donald Trump being fired, and they like that. And they see the predominantly left-wing journalistic core on Twitter who have lauded their blue check marks over everyone else for years, facing the prospect of losing them or having to pay for them, and they like that as well. The left, on the other hand, are obviously upset at everything I've just said. They see Elon fact-checking Biden and they say it's a threat to democracy. They see Elon charging for blue check marks as an attempt to degrade those people's legitimacy and to grift off of these journalists. And they, of course, don't like the fact that Elon is rich enough to buy a $44 billion company, and they're, of course, making it well known. Those who actually support Elon are saying that they will happily stay on the platform and will even go on to pay $20 a month to get verified if that's what it takes. And those who are on the opposite side of the spectrum, those people like the Matthew Chapman behind me here, as you can see, they're saying they won't look back and they will never give any money to Elon Musk. Now, of course, this is a finance channel, and so we do, of course, try to keep every video at least partially focused on that topic. And one massive overarching theme here is that Elon is messing up by doing this all to Twitter, and he's going to lose loads of money in the process, like this random journalist Scott Nova here seems to think. I don't think Elon Musk realizes how much money he's going to lose on Twitter at this rate. Again, we have this random blue checkmark verified Twitter account called the USA Singers, and they seem to think the exact same thing as well. Now, the first thing to note here is that Twitter is frankly overstaffed and its staff are underworked. The company has been plagued for years with a culture of happiness as opposed to productivity, and Elon Musk wants to change that because it is first and foremost a business and not some weird kind of family. Many people are saying that Elon will destroy Twitter by firing 75% of their staff, but frankly, if he's just cutting away those who barely work at all, I don't see this going badly at all. Twitter is not a business that actually needs 10,000 employees, and Elon's assessment of the company is that for every person actually working, there are 10 or so managers holding the whips behind them and accomplishing nothing. Just for some context, Twitter generates almost $700,000 in revenue from each employee, which is actually rather poor for a big tech company. Facebook makes $1.4 million in revenue for each employee, and Apple makes $2.4 million revenue for each employee, and that's including things like Apple Genius staff workers and the people who man the retail floors. Even Tesla, who employs 100,000 people, the vast majority of whom work in manufacturing the actual vehicles, while they still make $320,000 in revenue per employee, and that leaves a hell of a lot of improvement for Twitter, and that should really explain why Elon is firing so many staff, because they just aren't needed. Now, the next claim being made is that with Elon's purchase, he is destroying the future ad revenue that Twitter will be able to generate by allowing free speech to thrive. Now, the basic idea here is that companies are scared of backlash from advertising on sites that promote free speech, because some people will go on to boycott those brands or just be a little bit apprehensive to work with them or buy from them, and this will slowly bankrupt Twitter by drying up their advertising revenue. Now, honestly, if this whole ordeal had happened in 2017 or 2018, then I might agree with this idea. But over the last couple of years, we've actually seen this idea die out. We used to see huge backlash from against firms when they advertised on certain content, and most companies gave in to this pressure on the belief that not giving in would just actively lose them customers. But then we started seeing a few companies refuse to give in to this pressure, and they actually didn't really lose customers in the end. It turned out that those people who got angry about these advertising policies, they were outraged, but they were a tiny minority. They were just very vocal. So I think it's actually very unlikely that this idea itself kills the advertising revenue Twitter can generate. We also have another claim that the blue checkmark change will generate almost no money for Twitter whatsoever and will just drive users away and erode away the legitimacy of Twitter and its journalistic integrity. And so again, in the long run, the idea is that this will kill Twitter. But again, I don't agree with this idea. Those who are saying this are also conveniently the same people who claim that the blue check mark is not a status symbol, but it blatantly is. And those that have that status symbol, well, they want to maintain it, they want to keep it, and millions of those who don't have it would like it as well. Personally, I would be more than willing to pay $20 a month so that my followers know when they look at something I've said on Twitter, they know it's me and not one of the hundreds of scammers that you'll see in the YouTube comments section, for instance. As of right now, there are 500,000 or so verified users, and I don't think it's unreasonable at all that every person who leaves would just likely be replaced by someone like me joining. So that's an easy $120 million in revenue for Twitter over a year, and that's about a quarter of the losses that Twitter makes every year, so not an insignificant amount at all. Finally then, we have the idea that Elon overpaid for Twitter, and this I do firmly agree with. The company's true value was probably closer to $15 billion, but private transactions of businesses are always messy like this, and it's totally not out of the realm of possibility at all that Elon can make this into a huge success and build Twitter up into a $200, $300, or even $400 billion company. He also, of course, had partners with him on this deal, and he didn't put up the full $44 billion himself. And even if he had, well, he can clearly afford it, and it's not going to bankrupt him at all. Elon is also focused on growth here. He's mentioned offhand that he wants to restart Vine, which was basically the precursor to TikTok and could have been worth trillions of dollars itself had the previous Twitter leadership not absolutely killed that entire platform. And a domestic competitor, a United States competitor to TikTok, is a brilliant investment in today's day and age when TikTok is at the risk of being banned in the US altogether. In short, was it a good price from Elon's side? Well, no, it probably wasn't, and not in my opinion. But when I paid for my car, it wasn't actually a great price either, but I could afford it, and that was a specific car in that specific specification that I wanted. Elon can frankly afford this purchase, and he can also get the utility out of it that he desired, and I think it's incredibly unlikely that we see him bankrupted by this purchase of Twitter of all things. Of course, this story is likely to continue, and I'm determined to make sure that you all stay perfectly up to date on the goings on of Twitter and everything that happens in this saga. So until next time, stay stoic.